Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 13 of season 6 of the F1 2020 My Team career mode. Yes, just 4 races to go of this series, and today we head to the Japanese Grand Prix weeks as well. But yeah, we've just got a little bit left to deal with on F1 2020. Of course, if you missed out on the last My Team episode as well, I'll go back and check that out from the Italian Grand Prix. A lot happened, you know, every race seems to be a huge turning point at this late stage of the year there. But spoilers then, in 3, 2, 1 now. We currently lead the championship, 13 points ahead of Danny Kvyat now, who has turned into our closest rival there, who's just 1 point ahead of his teammate Pierre Gasly there as well. You can see constructors-wise, 41 points separate the top 3 teams there. AlphaTauri now just 10 behind Mercedes as well. It is all still to play for at this late stage of the year. But heading to the Japanese Grand Prix, not a track that has served me all too well on F1 2020. You can see performance-wise, Mercedes and Ferrari now pretty much level at the top of your standings there, with us, Red Bull, Renault and Racing Point there, as well as AlphaTauri, all pretty even there. AlphaTauri, second and third in the championship now with the 7th best car in Formula 1. It's absolutely insane at this late stage of the game. But obviously, if you aren't already subscribed, make sure you do so as well. Let's dive in to the Japanese Grand Prix. So at the end then of Q1, yet another changeable conditions qualifying session here in this season. 2 big shocks though in the end. They're Hamilton and Alex Albon both going out in Q1 there. Both Williams managing to make it through there. Of course, the Alfa Romeos and the Haas rounding out your grid order there, but not what Hamilton or Albon needed at this stage of the title there. Of course, Hamilton hanging on by a thread for championship contention there, but that might be his season pretty much done and dusted here. Let's dive into Q2. Heading out then for Q2 here in the Japanese Grand Prix, and it's looking like it is all nice and dry once again around this Suzuka circuit. There's still a little bit of water on the circuit there. You can see not quite full throttle all the way up until 5th gear out of the final corner here, but it is going to be a 1 attempt run for most of the field there. Gasly now provisional fastest in his AlphaTauri. Of course, this track where AlphaTauri took their first win in this career mode here and really sort of proved themselves as a proper threat in the world of Formula 1 as well, which of course they've carried over into this year as well, of course, but we need no mistakes on this run if we want to try and get through into Q3. Not too sure what the times are looking like here. Everyone's still improving at this stage, down into the 27s for Lando Norris here, but as we head through the first Egner there, that was a lot of curb. Through the second part again, taking a lot of curb there as well, as we've actually got one of the AlphaTauris. I think obviously that is Gasly closing in on me here as we're trying to get our fastest lap on the board. There's still quite a few guys that haven't come back out to the circuit though, so if they don't, obviously they're not going to be able to come back out again, of course, now. So as long as we can go quicker than them, we might just sneak it through into Q3 here. Let's wait and see though as we head down through Spoon, having to second guess ourselves through the second part there as we just get a nice hookup on the exit of the corner here. But everyone else still behind us is improving here. Could we see Williams into Q3 for the first time, I think, in this entire series? I don't think, yeah, we've ever seen it before as we go purple through the middle sector here. So clearly the track is still getting quicker and quicker here as we head through the final corners down towards the start-finish line. Where are we going to end up on Q2 there? It's P3 in the end, but surely, yeah, we're going to see a Williams maybe through into Q3. So having a look then at your final results, and yeah, look at that! We've got Antonio Giovinazzi and Nicholas Latifi into Q3 there. So many big names dropping out in Q2. You can see Max Verstappen and George Russell out for Ferrari there. Our teammate Charles Leclerc as well there, as well as Luca Giotto. So Mercedes 16th and 17th on the grid here, but it is the top 3 in the championship that seem to be sort of the big 3 hitters in this Grand Prix, as well as Lance Stroll there. It's going to be between myself and the AlphaTauris who can get pole here in the Japanese Grand Prix. I would have never expected both Williams to make it through, but this season is doing crazy things, as somehow Gasly in that second lap 4.5 seconds clear of anyone else. I'm not quite sure how he managed that. What this, of course, does now mean is ready for Q3 for the Japanese Grand Prix. We've got a lot of soft sets of tyres that we can go out and try to do laps with here in this session. To be honest, I wish we got out on mediums in Q2 there, because we would have made it through in the end because of just how many cars didn't think it was worth coming back out onto the circuit there. A big, big blunder. A lot of big names falling to the wayside here, but we can't afford to take any risks. Like I said in the last video here, we just need to be out there all the time in these qualifying sessions because they keep throwing up mixed results here, and yeah, we just need to be quick and consistent between now and the end of the year there, and hopefully we can obviously still close up the gap to AlphaTauri and Mercedes in the Constructors' battle there. But I think Pierre Gasly was the only man that gave us a proper reference mark for Q3 here, down in the 123s. Let's just see how close to that we can get on our first run. Heading now off Spoon though, down towards 130R, and Danny Kvyat currently setting the fastest time there, down in the 123s once more. We're just a couple of tenths off as we head in towards the final couple of corners of the lap. Let's just keep it nice and tidy. See if we can try and get ourselves down close to him. I think he did a 23.1 there. Is Lando Norris a 22.9? That is a mega pace from the McLaren there. We do a 23.3, so a little way off in P4 here. It's about to be P5. Yes, Gasly a 22.3. That's ridiculous. Oh, it's going to be very, very close if we can try and get ourselves into a run, another run at the end of this session here. We're currently sat down in P7. We've got a McLaren just in front of us, so we head out of the final corner. Are we going to get enough time to get ourselves on a last-ditch run? No! Oh, oh no. P8 on the grid. I think, to be honest, on F1, the clock ticks down to 0, but it doesn't give you that final second. I think if we'd been given the extra second, we would have made it there into Q3, onto our final run there. But it's P8 on the grid, only quicker than the Williams in the end there, but just gutted with that at the end of qualifying there. We've got Gasly, Kvyat on the front row, Stroll on row 2 alongside Lando Norris there, Guan Yu Zhou and Carlos Sainz 5th and 6th, Raikkonen ahead of myself, and they're both Williams rounding out your top 10 there, so at least we didn't get out qualified by them. But I mean, Williams only a second off. Nicholas Latifi could be on for points here. Let's dive in to the Japanese Grand Prix.
Welcome along then to the magnificent Suzuka International Circuit, a stone's throw away from Ise Bay in the beautiful Japanese countryside. What surprises lie in wait for us today in the Japanese Grand Prix? A lap of this historic racetrack covers 3.6 miles, and it's the only time during the season that we race on a figure-of-8 racetrack. The drivers can expect some intense G-forces through the 18 corners on offer here as they experience some of the highest average apex speeds on the Formula One calendar. And keep an eye out for overtakes going into the final chicane. Joining us today to oversee all the thrills and spills, it's Anthony Davidson. And great to see you. How are you feeling about the race today, and how are the circuit conditions from what you've seen?
Well, the surface looks clean enough, but I'm a little bit worried about the track temperature. It's pretty cool out there, which could give some teams difficulties when it comes to keeping their tyres in the right operating window. The cars out there that work their tyres hard and really put a lot of energy through them, they'll be the ones that are better off.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. A fantastic effort from Pierre Gasly yesterday puts him on pole. And just starting behind them is Daniel Kvyat, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Stroll, Norris, and Guan Yu Zhou, and Sainz, Raikkonen, Mr. Monaco, Latifi, and Antonio Giovinazzi, Verstappen, Leclerc, George Russell, and Perez, Ocon, Giotto, Lewis Hamilton, and Alexander Albon. King, Matsushita, De Vries, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
Ah yes, of course, Honda will want us to do well in this Grand Prix, with both AlphaTauris on the front row. Honda can be expecting some good results in this Grand Prix today. But we're ready then on the grid for the Japanese Grand Prix. Hopefully we can keep it clean and tidy, try and get through to the end in one piece. We'll be looking at the one-stop softer mediums around this track here today. But yeah, we just got to try and slice our way through the top runners as well there. It actually reckons the two-stop is... Oh no, obviously it reckons we're going to pit right at the end of the Grand Prix as well there. So yeah, hopefully we can keep it clean and tidy. It's looking like a nice sunny Grand Prix though here today. P3 might be all we can get. Maybe, just maybe, AlphaTauri are a bit too strong once again around this circuit. Obviously, it took a 1-2 last season round with us finishing P3 here. It looks like it might happen again today. But a safety car is always a possibility. So we'll try and keep it clean and end the race like we start. Try and gain some spots as we go on. Let's just dive into it then. Round 13 of the year here from the Japanese Grand Prix. Waiting on those 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go, as Raikkonen responded really well to those lights as we head down towards turn 1. The same can be said for Nicholas Latifi, who's just going to get boxed in on at the outside down through turn 1 there. Can we try and get a run around the outside of the Williams? No, we can't, so we have lost the one spot off the start there as Giovinazzi still behind us in the points. Raikkonen clean around the outside of Carlos Sainz though as we head through the S's there, so a whirly of a move coming in from him, but now can we find the grip on Latifi? No, once more. Just not quite got the same pace as the Williams there as we head out of Sector 1 there. But it is still the AlphaTauris that lead the way at the front of the field. There is almost into the back of the Williams that time round there. I don't know how many times we've said Williams through that first sector. But Giovinazzi trying to apply the pressure as well there as we all concertina up through the hairpin here. And yeah, Williams look competitive this weekend. They brought more upgrades to the car. They're now pretty much on par with McLaren at this stage of the year there. So yeah, really a big opportunity for their two drivers to show their worth to some of the bigger teams in Formula 1 at the moment now. They've been comfortably better than Haas and Alfa Romeo all season long, but can they now try and get a couple of points on the board to further extend their margin over those teams to give themselves a bit of safety between now and the end of the year there? We are going to relegate Latifi back down to P9 as we come towards the end of lap 1, of course, but not the best start in the world there. No places gained. When really, yeah, we need to be making forward progress here. Gasly leads at the end of lap 1, ahead of Kvyat there, and I think Stroll up at a P3 there. So 3 of our main championship rivals in the top 3. Coming towards the end of lap 2, though, we've still got a good straight line speed package in this car, so hopefully Carlos Sainz, there won't be much he can do to try and defend himself here as we're going to use a load of our battery down in towards Sector 3 there. Not getting as much as I'd hoped we would. But we're still going to be all over the back of him here, maybe within dive bomb range in towards the final chicane and up the inside through the Casio triangle we go there. A very aggressive move, but a critical one at this early stage of the day. We've got to keep making forward progress there as a 26-7 isn't too bad at the end of lap 2, but yeah, the AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly just romping away early on, and if the race were to finish now, he and Danny Kvyat would be 1-2 in the championship. I must admit, it is great to see the likes of Renault and McLaren finally starting to get somewhere in this season. You know, they've really just... I mean, they've taken points away here and there, but they have very much been the slowest of the midfielders here at this stage of the year. But Raikkonen and Lando Norris, they're really fighting at the pointy end in this Grand Prix. If things went their way, could probably both be thinking about a podium in this race. And yeah, we're really not taking a lot at Raikkonen at this stage of the year there. Guan Yu Zhou as well, up in P5. Hasn't had the best season in the world there. Has been thoroughly eclipsed by his teammate Lance Stroll, who has been a league of his own in that racing point. But still good to see with 4 races to go of the year. Now we're starting to apply more pressure though to Kimi Raikkonen in this Grand Prix. There is all big kick of wheel spin out of Spoon there as we try to get on the throttle as early as possible here, gaining a little bit on the Renault man. But just look at how much he's got. Top end speed there in that Renault. Just nothing we can do apart from go for a send. And just like we did to Carlos Sainz, it's another send into the Casio triangle there. And again, we pulled it off. Next up though, Guan Yu Zhou as we set purple in the final sector there despite pulling off the overtake. New strategy from the team. We'll go with that. Lap 11, we'll pit onto mediums and go to the end. That was kind of what I was already planning. But at least the team are on the same page as us now. Danny Kvyat though, really holding up everyone behind him at this early stage, giving Gasly a big advantage. We need to capitalise on this. Right, can we do the same sort of thing we did to Raikkonen 1 lap ago now to Guan Yu Zhou in this Grand Prix? There is again, another big kick of wheel spin though. That time around we're nowhere near going to get the run off the corners. We've actually got yellow flags. Look at that, that's Lando Norris falling to the wayside in this Grand Prix there. So a heartbreak for Lando Norris, who is going to drop out of this Japanese Grand Prix there. Not what he wanted in this race. Unfortunately, it looked like the potential for a podium was on this weekend there, and Lando Norris out of the Grand Prix, and that is going to bring out a full safety car in this Grand Prix. So not too sure if we're going to see guys towards the back diving into the pit lane here, trying to get to the end of the race on a set of mediums. I think they are. Look at that. Everyone behind jumping in onto a set of mediums here, as, yeah, the team's saying that's the way to go. I still reckon we may as well pit when we were going to here, as hopefully the safety car is going to get out of the way. To be honest, if we're going to pit, we're going to make our mind up whether it's going to be this lap or in the normal window, because otherwise we're going to lose out a lot of time to all the guys that have just dived it in. I think, will the mediums go 20 laps to the end? The softs haven't worn that badly so far. Obviously, remember, we had to do a qualifying lap on them as well in intermediate conditions, which would have put a lot more wear through. Let's just see what the front runners do, and we'll probably, to be honest, just follow them, because my strategy calls this year haven't been great. What are we going to see Pierre Gasly do from the lead of the Grand Prix then? Gasly dives in, so yeah, it does make sense then. No, actually, the rest of the guys, though, not diving in, but we are going to follow Pierre Gasly in this Grand Prix. To be honest, I see him as my biggest title threat at this stage of the year there, so we're just going to try and match him in at this Grand Prix there. Hamilton and the Red Bulls are going to really try and elevate themselves up the order as well, of course, here. But Gasly on another set of softs. So what's Pierre Gasly doing then in this Grand Prix? We're going to try and go mediums to the end of this race there. We're still going to be back out in P9 of the Grand Prix, unless Carlos Sainz can get a big run on us back down towards turn 1. It's going to be close, actually, between myself and the McLaren, but we do hold on in front. And yeah, that is certainly going to make things interesting then. We might be the only man at the front of the field here trying to make the one stop to the end of the race. This could be championship defining. Well, Danny Kvyat is going to lead the field away again off this restart as we cross over 1/3 race distance here, but we need to channel our best inner Sergio Perez at this stage of the Grand Prix. 18 laps on a set of mediums to the flag is going to be no easy feat, but like I said, it could be what could give us the gap to potentially try and win the World Championship this year and make us a 5-time Formula 1 World Champion as we head back down towards turn 1. Not too worried about trying to apply pressure to Pierre Gasly early on. Like I said, just completely focusing on what we can do with the rubber here as we've got Carlos Sainz and Latifi just behind us. A little bit of understeer through the S's there as Pierre Gasly in front just gets a little bit out of shape. Raikkonen seemingly already forming a bit of a train here as, yeah, Kvyat and the Racing Points lead the way off this restart. Oh, Gasly really early on the brakes in towards the hairpin there. Wasn't brave enough to go for a move on Alex Albon, so we do have a look up the inside there. Just don't quite get the power down on the exit of the corner there. I want to make sure we give the AlphaTauri enough room on our outside. But yeah, really trying to go for it at this stage of the Grand Prix. Let's just see if we can try and get a run down in towards 130R and in towards the Casio Triangle. I don't think we're going to have enough battery this time around to go for anything, or enough top-end speed, to be honest. All the other cars seem to have a really low aero setup around this circuit, and we just, yeah, can't seem to really get close enough unless we go for a dive, which, again, I don't really want to do on Pierre at this stage. Oh, there we go. We got cars into the pit lane, though, so that is the top 4 runners into the pit. So Hamilton from 17th on the grid will now inherit the lead of this Grand Prix as we got Sainz trying to have a look for something down towards turn 1 there. Just doesn't quite have enough momentum in towards turn 1 there. But yeah, now Hamilton and the Red Bulls up into the lead of this Grand Prix. Who would have guessed? They started 15th, 16th and 17th here. But yeah, surely they're going to have to pit rather soon. I'll be honest with you guys, Pierre Gasly isn't looking as quick as I thought he would be at this stage of the Grand Prix. He isn't hounding Alex Albon. Well, I'd expect him to as well, you know, if he does want to try and get the race victory here. Whether it just hasn't worked out what strategy we're on at this stage of the day, I don't know there. But Albon and Hamilton both into the pits at the end of the lap there. So Ocon now inherits the lead of the Grand Prix, a 26-4 for ourselves there versus Ocon's 26-1. Now Gasly, yeah, we'll wait and see if he closes right up to Ocon. End of lap 12, almost now at the halfway stage of this Grand Prix. I take it now we're going to see Ocon into the pits at the end of this lap there. So Gasly is now going to re-inherit the lead of the Grand Prix there. Gasly sets new fast lap as well. They're a 25.5 versus our own 25.6, so only a tenth of a second between myself and Pierre. But now we've got some DRS. As long as we don't lose too much to him, We should be good here as long as we also, of course, don't take too much out of the tyres. Latifi now up into P4. What a day this could be for Williams, as long as they keep it all in one piece. Oh, there we go. This time our new fast lap of the Grand Prix. Just going a tiny bit quicker than Pierre Gasly there. Must have been less than a tenth in it between the pair of us, but we are not letting Gasly get away, and hopefully we are just making him a little bit frustrated. Lap 16, Pierre Gasly is really trying to get us outside the 1 second window so we no longer get DRS on him at this stage of the day, but we are just hanging on in there at the moment. We have got to be careful though. Remember, we are on completely different strategies. We need to try and get these tyres to the end of the Grand Prix, but the wear hasn't been too bad at all in these first few laps of the stint. But again, we're only about 1/3 distance through this stint, I'll be honest, so maybe, just maybe, by the end these are probably going to be looking very, very hurt tyres as well. There, Gasly though into the pits at the end of lap 16 there, so now we can probably just tone it down a little bit. Could we see Latifi into P2 there, a stroll out of the Grand Prix? So heartbreak for the Racing Point man. They're two cars that were looking to be in podium contention this weekend, both out there, and that might be Lance Stroll's World Championship hopes pretty much done and dusted here. His second DNF of the year there, and once again it seems to be mechanical here. But where's this going to leave the likes of Latifi here? He's going to be right up the running order still. He was P3 behind Gasly and myself there. We're going to see a few guys get around him as they head back out of the pit lane here. But Latifi, surely, yeah, is still in the points at the moment there. He's going to come back out in, like, what, P7? P8, I want to say, in this Grand Prix? As Hamilton now up into P4 there. Him, Ocon, and Albon have nailed that one stop there. But we've got 21 seconds to Pierre Gasly behind. Surely now we can just tone it down and try and get this thing to the flag in one piece. So as long as we lose less than 2 seconds a lap to Pierre Gasly behind us, this should be a strategy masterclass in this Japanese Grand Prix. This lap, the gap was about 20.4, so we've lost about 1.3 over the course of this one. Again, we just need to keep our head down. Tyre wear's looking absolutely fine at this stage of the day. Pretty even across all 4 tyres as well, of course, with it being a figure 8 circuit. It does really stress out all the rubber pretty evenly. But yeah, just no risks, no taking too much curb. A few of the curbs around here can be evil. We might have absolutely finessed this Japanese Grand Prix into potentially back-to-back race victories, which no one has achieved, I think, at all this year, I want to say, of course. No, George Russell, I think, might have taken 2 in a row at Zandvoort and Spain early on. And then, did he win 2 in a row, or did we win one of those? Because I know he definitely won Monaco. I'm trying to remember. I think George Russell... No, I think we won Spain, didn't we? So, yeah, no one has won 2 races in a row over the course of this campaign up to this point. We could be the first driver this year, 13 races in, to win back-to-back Grand Prix. But, again, we've got to keep it clean and tidy. Albon, new fast lap of the Grand Prix at 25.3. We're not worried about trying to gain that bonus point at this stage of the day. We're just trying to bring home at least 6 more than Gasly, and this is what we've got to do. This is what I was hoping we could do in the latter stages of this championship, was just slowly build up the gap, and maybe if we can get towards, you know, sort of Brazil, we might already have the 25 points we need to head into that finale without any worries. 4 laps to go then here from Suzuka, and I'll be honest, this car around this track is just an absolute joy to drive this late stage of the season here. We kind of lucked our way into the strategy today. I was trying to do what Gasly was doing in this race. I honestly thought he was going to go mediums or hards and try and get it to the end of the Grand Prix there. Had he done so, I think we would have really struggled to get around him still in this race. The AI have always got mega top-end speed around Suzuka for whatever reason here. But yeah, less than 4 to go here from Japan. And yeah, it might be back-to-back race victories this season. Final lap then here from Suzuka, and it's all looking like it's going to fit into place at the end of this one. We've managed the tyres really well. To be honest, the wear's actually been a lot better than I thought it would be in the second half of this Grand Prix there. Gasly sets fastest lap there. That might be a critical fastest lap bonus point for him come the end of the year here. But for us though today, it all just fell into place. Qualifying didn't quite go my way. Of course, we just missed out on that final Q3 run there, but I genuinely believe that was because the game stops the timer early there. I don't think we got that final second of the session, and unless of course it does it at the start of the session. You never really know on F1 2020 as well, of course. But running the final few corners here of this Japanese Grand Prix. Like I said at the start, it's not a track that's been particularly kind to me on F1 ever, particularly. It's never been a track I've gelled with much on the Formula 1 games. But this weekend, in this car, it all seems to have fallen into place there. I must admit, a big thank you to Lando Norris. That engine failure early on, yeah, really did gift us this one today, of course. Nailed the strategy call from that. But Honda, I'm sure, will be happy as well. They're 4 cars from 3 different teams as well, powered by their engines, are going to come through for a top 3 here. But down in towards the final couple of corners of this Japanese Grand Prix here in Suzuka, we are going to come through. 3rd race victory of the year, their 2nd in a row. That is what I'm talking about.
Yes, you've done it. Well done.
There's a few disappointed faces up and down the pit wall after that one, but not here. They've secured a phenomenal victory. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Here comes your top 3 making their way down to the podium for what can only be described as a fantastic day for Formula 1. And now let's take a look at the drivers' standings. Mr. Monaco takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
But it's absolutely got to be Alexander Albon, no hesitation. He put in a performance today that's only going to build further upon his already growing reputation.
Let's move on to the constructors. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improve their position in the championship. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Well, there we are then, guys. The end of the Japanese Grand Prix, and quite a lot of movement up and down the order there when all is said and done. We come through for 8th to take the race victory there. One of just 4 cars in the Grand Prix to get to the end on the one stop there, of course, joining both Red Bulls and Lewis Hamilton there. Gasly, though, I'm sure very, very gutted to only come through for P2. This could have been a big weekend for him to take some points out of us as well there, and I'm sure AlphaTauri will be kicking themselves come the debrief there as well. Esteban Ocon P3 from 15th on the grid there. Albon 4th from 18th as well. They're a brilliant day out from Red Bull there, and a great recovery after yesterday's disappointment there. Hamilton 17th to 5th as well. Keeps his slim championship hopes alive at this stage of the year there. Ahead of Sainz, George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Verstappen and Luca Giotto there. What disappointment for George Russell. If he hadn't left Mercedes, I really do believe he would still be dominating the title at this late stage of the campaign there. But Giotto, he's just gone back to obscurity later on this year. Obviously, he came in, won the Austrian Grand Prix, almost won the British Grand Prix straight after that, and has pretty much been quiet since that stage of the campaign there. You can see Williams 12th and 13th in the end, just didn't quite have the race pace to hang on there, with Sergio Perez on a 3-stop strategy, able to make it to 11th when all is said and done that as well. But championship-wise, 20 points now clear at the top of the standings there, as Pierre Gasly gets the jump on his teammate Danny Kvyat here. 3 races to go of the campaign officially means Charles Leclerc cannot be world champion this year there, and will go the entirety of F1 2020 championshipless as well. Their disappointment for him, I'm sure, as well. But yeah, like we said, Gasly gets the jump on Danny Kvyat. Hamilton gets the jump on Lance Stroll there. We could theoretically next time round really knock both Hamilton and Stroll out of contention there. Maybe George Russell as well, to be honest. Considering 2 Grand Prix ago, George Russell and I were tied on points. The fact he's now 43 back really does say a lot about the downfall of Ferrari at this stage of the campaign there. Looking elsewhere, though, still no movement down towards the rear of your field there. Constructors-wise, though, that's really tightened up as well. The Mercedes now just 2 points clear of AlphaTauri there. I think it's an inevitability when Mercedes lose that title lead rather than if at this stage of the year there. What on earth were they thinking to let George Russell go to Ferrari there? But yeah, 23 points separate the big three teams at the moment there. I think between us and AlphaTauri, it could be very, very tight between now and the end of the year there. We need Charles Leclerc to try and come in clutch in the final 3 Grand Prix of the year there. But Red Bull get the jump on Racing Point as well, just 2 points separating those two teams as well. There are a lot of battles up and down the order. Of course, Ferrari, McLaren and Renault are still battling out for P6 as while they're in sort of the second half of your midfield there. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and yeah, we'll be back next time round. 3 races to go of F1 2020. We'll be back very, very soon, ready for the US Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.